Amidst a cacophony of ringing phones and hurried footsteps, Elijah Ford sits quietly at his desk, a figure lost in the administrative maze. His hands move with precision, methodically organizing files in a corner cast in shadow. The grating noise of the office fades as he focuses on the task at hand. Charles, a partner adorned with a Rolex, sits ensconced behind his imposing desk, the computer screen casting a cold light upon his face. Without lifting his gaze, Charles barks a string of demands at Elijah. Elijah, I need the conference room booked for 10 a.m. and reschedule my lunch. Tell Susan she's being difficult and that the Davis file is not her property. Elijah nods mutely, absorbing the torrent of orders. The Rolex on Charles' wrist flashes, a stark reminder of the chasm between them. Amid a mountain of tasks, Elijah sits at his desk, the silence amplifying his hesitation. The phone's shrill call cuts through the air as Elijah hesitates, sweat beading on his brow. Instead of his usual soft Ellington, partners, how may I help you? He pauses, his grip tightening on the receiver. The ringing stops abruptly, replaced by silence. It started small. A twitch in his eyelid that wouldn't go away. A boiling sensation behind his sternum every time someone assumed he'd clean up after their meeting. And then one morning, he stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror and asked himself, how long do you let people walk over you before it becomes your fault? It was a Friday when it happened. The day everyone's impatience spiked, but Elijah's cracked. The morning had started like every other. Coffee, 4 sugars for Denise in HR. Printer jam fixed for the paralegals who refused to learn. And by 10 a.m., 3 different people had blamed Elijah for things he hadn't done. Then came the email. Subject: urgent. Elijah messed up. From Charles Ellington to Senior Partners, CC, Elijah Ford. Elijah failed to include the appendix in the Davis file. This is unacceptable and reflects poorly on our office. He must be reprimanded. Elijah blinked. He had included the appendix. Charles had removed it, saying it was too detailed and cluttered the main argument. But of course, Charles wouldn't remember that. And now, with the partners CC'd, it wasn't just a mistake. It was a brand. Something inside Elijah clicked. He didn't respond to the email. He stood up, calmly walked to the firm's break room, and made a cup of tea. Not coffee. Not for anyone else. Just tea for himself. Denise asked him where her coffee was. I didn't get it, Elijah said, without looking up. A silence fell over the room. You always get my coffee, she said like someone might say. You always bow when I enter the room. I don't feel like it today, Elijah said, stirring his tea. That was the beginning. Elijah had kept count. 7 years, 3 months, and 12 days of endless patience. Of suppressing every urge to speak up, every desire to push back. He had been the embodiment of endurance, believing, perhaps foolishly, that kindness and silence would lead to respect. It hadn't. It led to being forgotten. Worse, taken for granted. He went back to his desk and opened the folder he'd been updating for years. Exit strategy. It wasn't just a resignation letter or a backup resume. It was a plan. A map of every time someone in the firm had overstepped, made a mistake, or violated protocol. Elijah didn't gossip. He documented. Screenshots, emails, voice memos, when he was sure no one was listening. Not for revenge, at least, not at first, but for proof. Proof that he wasn't incompetent, that he had limits. He printed a stack of papers, names redacted, but roles clear, and placed them in an envelope labeled, "When Patience Ends." Charles summoned Elijah into his office. "I'm going to need you to apologize to the partners for the Davis file. I don't know how you missed such a key document, but this isn't the first time you've dropped the ball." Elijah raised an eyebrow. "I've never dropped the ball, but you have, repeatedly." Charles blinked. "Excuse me?" Elijah placed the envelope on the desk. "What is that? Your mistakes, your shortcuts, your temper tantrums, and the ways you've made other people pay for them." "Elijah, are you threatening me?" "I'm reminding you I have limits, and you've reached them." Charles reached for the envelope, but Elijah held it firm. "This is not blackmail, it's a courtesy. I'm giving you a chance to walk away with your pride before I walk out with the truth." For the first time, Charles looked small. News spread fast. Elijah didn't shout, didn't make a scene. He simply gave notice. But the staff noticed. Something in the way he walked now, shoulders back, chin up. The quiet man was no longer shrinking. He was standing. In his final week, Elijah did his job with the same level of precision, but he no longer apologized for things he didn't do. He no longer accepted last-minute demands or passive-aggressive jabs. People were startled. Some admired it, others feared it. But everyone finally noticed. Elijah didn't jump to a new job right away. He traveled, slept in, ate without checking emails, and slowly he began to understand something fundamental. Patience is a virtue, but it is not a life strategy. Being patient didn't mean tolerating abuse. It didn't mean never asserting your needs or boundaries. It meant knowing when to wait and when to walk away. A few months later, he started his own consulting firm, one that helped professionals navigate toxic work environments, set boundaries, and recognize burnout before it consumed them. He called it Limit. Tagline: Know Yours. A letter arrived 6 months after he left Ellington Partners from Susan, paralegal. Subject: Thank you, Elijah. You probably don't remember, but you once stayed late to help me sort through a filing disaster I created. You never made me feel stupid. You just smiled and said, "We'll figure it out." That night changed the way I saw myself. And when you walked out, it changed how I saw this firm. I resigned last week. I'm starting fresh too. Thank you for showing me what quiet strength looks like. Elijah smiled. Patience had its place, but so did courage. And sometimes the bravest thing you could do was say, "Enough."